It's so
Hello,
wonderful.
everyone.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Sam Eckmann from Gold Derby, and I'm sitting here. You probably know her from her Tony-nominated Bend and Snap, but she is back on Broadway with a new hit musical, Pretty Woman, the musical. Orfeh, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
Hi. And so this role, this movie is a very beloved movie that it's based on. You're playing Kit DeLuca, who in the film was played by Laura San Giacomo. I'm curious, what was your relationship like with the movie and with her performance when you were trying to attack this role?
I think that because I've had a little bit of experience taking movie roles and putting them on the stage, I feel like I've kind of found this perfect balance of staying true to what people love about the person playing the role. And these are blockbusters. These aren't little, indie films you catch on cable late at night. These are massive films that people really know and take a lot of ownership to. So I think I've found a perfect blend of taking what it is that everybody loved about her, putting my stamp on it, blending the two, and hopefully I'm pleasing everybody. I'm pleasing the hardcore movie fans that may not actually go to a lot of Broadway musicals and are coming to this one specifically because it's Pretty Woman. So I think I did a pretty good blend to satisfy the Broadway public and the movie lovers, and then the people who come to see me, I'd like to think, in a show. And I think it all became really symbiotic, and I hope I nailed it.
Yeah.
And to Laura San Giacomo's, role, you have to. That's where it all started. So I have to respect that in as much of a way as I can.
Absolutely. And I've heard you say before in the past that the audience is a really important part, the most important part of your process when you
Absolutely.
create a role. What for you changed specifically with Kit? What changed when the audience was brought in?
When you're in a room with the creatives and the cast, and if you do run-throughs for the money people, for the producers, they're not. I mean, I would like to think they're looking to be excessively entertained, but they're not going to give the reactions that a paying audience member is going to give. So while it starts to take form in the rehearsal room, we had such a long rehearsal process. This has been in the works for a long time. It never really comes together for me, and I'm not fully informed as to what I'm doing until I get in front of an organic, paying, completely they have no agenda. They're just there to be entertained. So until I'm in front of that audience and I know exactly where everything lands, like where is this joke going to fit? Where is this moment going to make sense? How great is this going to be for them? How much is this going to tank? So I literally don't know what exactly I'm giving until I get the response from the audience. And that's been my way since Saturday Night Fever. You only but have so much insular existence when you're in a rehearsal room for any length of time, and then it changes the minute you give it over to real people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then I go, okay, this is working. I'm gonna beef this up. I'm gonna take this away. I'm gonna tone this down. They want more of this. And oftentimes, especially in previews, I'll be able to go say to Jerry Mitchell and say, you see, they really want more of that, and Jerry's been very collaborative with that. But he also, everyone sees or everyone hears and they go, oh, you're on something about that. So it really, I always say it, the audience is the next character in the show. So that's how it is.
And what has the fan reaction been like for you? Do you feel pressure from them to perform in a certain way?
No, I think I am pleasantly surprised by how much and how richly they've embraced me. I'm very lucky. I think that with regards to this particular role and the hardcore movie fans, I think the thing I get a lot is that they didn't get the closure they wanted from Kit in the film. It's kind of vague. You kind of are left wondering, well, did she go to beauty school? Did she get the roommate? Did she, everybody says to me, I'm so glad I have a story now with Kit. Oh, I'm so glad she wanted to be a cop. I'm so glad, they never got that in the film. And obviously it was a different sort of thing. And also with regards to my fan base that I've, cultivated throughout the years, there's a certain style of singing they want from me and a certain kind of really over the top thing that I've kind of tried to do without being ridiculous. So I think, again, I've blended it together and made it work. But I never wanted to alienate the movie fans, because with this particular show, we're getting a lot of that crowd. You know, it's not particularly the hardcore like Broadway audience. This is a massively gigantic, you know, audience that comes because they know the title so well, and they don't want to be disappointed. They don't want to be like, oh great, they got real creative, you know.
And well, speaking of your singing style, you are really known for your belt. You definitely put it to work in this one. I think every song has some crazy riff that you're coming out with. It's very impressive. How do you, because I've been talking for 3 days and I'm losing my voice. What do you do to keep your voice in shape like that?
My God, you know what? I live like a nun. I really do. I don't go out. I don't go any place where I have to speak over the volume of the room. You know, I don't drink. I don't smoke. I've never done any of that. But with regards to somebody like me with my voice, it's like any athletic endeavor. You use it or you lose it. So for me, when I'm not in a show and I have to do a concert or a benefit, and I do a ton of benefits, if I'm more likely to hurt myself or get a little hoarse and be like, oh God, I gotta shut up and go to the doctor, I'm more likely to have to do that if I have to hit up a concert and do one show and go, because I'm not in fighting form at that point in time. I haven't been singing. It's like when you're doing 8 shows a week, hopefully you're warm all the time. So unless you go and do something stupid, you're going to hopefully be warm all the time, you know, barring getting sick. And I do everything in the world not to get sick. I'm a germaphobe. I'm rude about it. I'm like, get away from me. I spray like Lysol at people. I'm like, get away. So I think for me, it is the fact that a body in motion stays in motion. For me, my voice works if it's working. You know, that's my biggest secret. I gotta keep talking. I gotta keep singing.
You brought up Jerry Mitchell before, and you've worked with him in the past. He also did Legally Blonde with you, where you were nominated for playing Paulette. You mentioned he was collaborative. What kind of advice or what is his style of working like when he took you on for this role?
You know, he's just really open. You know, he's not one of those precious, it's my way or the highway directors. He's extremely collaborative, and he's very generous with the fact that if you bring him an idea, he's not going to say, well, it's not my idea, you can't do it. The more collaborative, the more the actors bring him stuff that he can chew on and kind of meld into something, the happier he is. You know, the trick about Jerry is if you can't do whatever it is that you're bringing in 8 times a week, don't bring it to him, because if he likes it, it's going in the show. So that's the thing. That's the rub about Jerry. It's like, if you can't do a back handspring into a split and into a splat 8 times a week, don't show him in the rehearsal room, because if he likes it, you're doing it. So if you can't do a riff, if you can't, you know, land something 8 times a week, don't bring it to him, because chances are he's going to be like, that's it, you know. But it's a gift to have a director that isn't precious about, I came up with this. This is my idea. He loves the collaborative effort. And that's why I like working with him, because he's like, what do you got? Yeah. So for someone like me, you know, I tend to be very broad. Unless it's too out of the realm of reality, he's down for it. So I'm very lucky I get to do that, because he'll be like, yeah, you know, so. Yeah.
And another person you got to work with, because you've been involved in this for a long time, was Gary Marshall. Before he passed away. And I just would love to know what was it like having him in the room, and did he have any input about your performance?
Yeah, the very, very first table read, it was one act. At that point, it was just one act. And it was top secret. We couldn't even call it by the name Pretty Woman. It had some code name. And he was there every step of the way. And he was exactly the person you think Gary Marshall was. Very broad, very funny, extremely sharp. I mean, it was just a joy to be in the room with him. And as far as like me, he'd always yell at Jerry and be like, give him more to do. What are you doing? She's hilarious. You know, so like we had a great relationship, and I'd go to him and be like, what if Kit did this? He's like, yeah, let's go write it. I mean, he was amazing, but he was he was his own caricature. You know what I mean? Was exactly that person. But the thing about Gary that I think kind of set the tone for this entire project He really loved actors. Not every writer, not every director is just like, oh, I love actors. He loved actors. And I think that made a big difference in his movies, and the fact that like anytime he looked at somebody, they became a superstar overnight. You know what I mean? He just loved them. And he that made a very big impression on me. And, you know, my husband, Andy, had worked with him as well. And he said the same thing. He loved actors. So he just loved playing with them, working with them, hearing what they have to say. And it was easy to work with him. I miss him a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And your husband, Andy, speaking of him, Andy Karl is Edward in the show. And Steve Kazee was originally in the role and had to pull out. But were you the one who said, hey, I have someone available? I know a guy?
No, actually, Andy wasn't available in the first place because Groundhog Day was, you know, cut off at the knees, and no one can explain that. And we could be here all day discussing that. But when Jerry found out that our original actor could not go on with the production, Andy was set to do a series. And in the 27th hour, the series had the plug pulled on it. So Andy was never, between Groundhog Day and the series, Andy was never available for Pretty Woman. And literally 20 minutes after the whole thing happened with Steve not being able to do the show, Andy was not going to be doing the series. Jerry called Andy, and that's literally the chain of events. He's like, I hear you're available, because it was news that the series wasn't going. Like, it was, you know, industry news. And Andy looked at me, I'm like, well, I'm not going to talk you out of it. And that's literally how Andy got the gig. Jerry called him and said, you're doing this for me. And Andy's like, okay. It was like, I get to work with my wife. I've seen the show 3 times, and I love you. So yeah, okay. That's the long and short of it.
Well, you guys work together. You've worked together quite a lot. You did Legally Blonde, where you had a lot of scenes together as he was the UPS man, and then you did your Legally Bound concert. But this one, you don't share any big scenes together, really. What is it like being in the same show and showing up to work every day in this one versus the others?
I think it's funny that we literally have 0 stage time. I think I look over my shoulder at him once, and then we bow next to each other. That's it. I think the fact that we get to have the same schedule is literally a gift, because if we're not working together in the same show, I promise you, this is the secret of our marriage. We never see each other. This is why we've been married so long. So when we're in a show together, regardless of the fact that in this one we have no stage time, we're on the same schedule. We get to go to work together. We get to hang out together. You know, it's the best paid vacation in the history of life. So couldn't be happier.
That's great. I know, I was surprised. I was like, oh, they don't have any scenes together. And there's one where Samantha Barks, is the lead. They have a scene together, and their sort of love scene pushes away, and then you enter. And I was wondering, like, oh, I wonder if she's making faces at Samantha and joking with her about falling in love with my husband.
It's so sad. I've been married so long, I don't even notice that he's basically on a piano having relations with another woman 4 feet away from me. I'm in the wings gossiping with Eric Anderson and Tommy Bracco. And we're just catching up on the day, talking a whole bunch of crap. And literally I'm like, and they're like, all right, we got to go on. And the scene changes. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was my husband just on the piano with Samantha. Oh, okay. Don't notice. And all the women at the stage are like, how do you do that? How do you deal with it? I'm like, I wish I could pretend to be upset or like so in arms about it. I don't even notice. I'm like, oh, scene change. I got to go and give the money to the landlord. Is that awful? I just, you know, there's also a level of trust I have with Samantha, obviously. We're very close friends, and we were, you know, in the show together before Andy came along. But gosh, if people knew how perfunctory and clinical stagecraft in a intimate scene is, boy, it's about as sexy as a banana. Maybe it's actually sexier.
And I was realizing you guys, the two of you could, I think, both become Tony nominees this year. And I was trying to think of past instances. I don't think that's ever happened when a couple has been nominated for the same show. and you both have been there before. What does that kind of recognition mean to you?
I mean, wouldn't that be something? We'd make history. Like for the rest of time, we'd make the history books.
The Broadway
I don't even know. I can't even comprehend. But listen, it's always a phenomenal thing to be recognized. And there is no higher award nomination than a Tony Award nomination and the Drama Desk and the other. And if we could land those, yes, it would be history making. You don't do it for that. That's a big ladle, a vat of gravy over everything. It'd be nice. I wouldn't mind another certificate hanging on my wall. I have to play a little catch up with Andy. He's got 3 of everything. And he's got an Olivier. I'm just a Tony nominee, you know? But I think it'd be really nice. I think it'd be fun. And I think it'd be nice for once to get to do the Tonys and all the award ceremonies together as a nominated couple. He's either there supporting me or I've been, you know, in rapid succession on the carpet supporting him. It'd be so cool to be there together for the same year, for the same show as nominees. I think that'd be insane. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that would be special.
Yeah.
Well, as we...
Who do we call?
Cross your fingers. Well, as we wrap up here, I wanted to ask you kind of about dream roles that you want, because you mentioned before about all the comedy you're able to infuse in this, and you're so great at comedy. I think Ireland from Legally Blonde is one of the best, like, sort of wild non sequiturs in musical theater.
Thank you.
But Kit, as you said, she gets that never give up on a dream moment. There is a real genuine warmth and desire there. Do you find yourself gravitating towards comedic roles exclusively, or do you want to branch out into drama?
I would love to branch out into drama. I would love to do some very serious, you know, not wearing leather and not talking like this for a change, you know. I think that when you're good at something in musical theater, especially if you have a niche and you can fulfill that niche without messing it up, I think they look to you for that. And I think it becomes something you have to prove that you're able to step outside of that box. And listen, there's nothing wrong with it. If it means I'm working, then great. But I just don't want anyone to ever think, oh, that's all she can do. She's a one-trick pony. She's just funny. She's loud. She's brash. And she can speak in regional dialect. You know what I mean? It's like, I think that I'd have to certainly, for the next few roles, whether it's, you know, Broadway, television, whatever, I think I have to make sure people realize there's more to it. Maybe they don't want to see that. I know people like to see what they like to see, but I'd like to show them that there is another side, you know, that I can kind of tone it down and not talk like this, like Gary Marshall. I think Kit is really Gary Marshall, actually.
Oh.
I think he probably based that character on himself.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sitting down, talking with me. Wishing you the best of luck for Tony season. We'll cross our fingers for even a double nomination, a couple nomination for you and Andy.
Thank you so much. And thanks for asking me really cool questions.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Where's your name from? No. Thank you. It's refreshing.
Thank you.